Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And tonight, I've got a treat for you. We've got everything from Caitlin Collins going after Vivek Swamy and him wiping the floor with her. The Young Turks making fun of CNN for being extremely biased, and then forgetting that whole little thing about the Second Amendment and why it was originally here. This is going to be something you guys are going to love. Please send this out because this right here, I'm excited. Everything, of course, will be linked in the description box below, and make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. All right, my brothers and sisters, one of the favorite talking points of the left is, well, it just doesn't make sense to have Second Amendment rights here anymore because you've got, jet fighters and tanks and bombs and submarines, and you just don't stand a chance. So what's the point? That's a really big point on the left. It's fascinating, but CNN goes after Republican candidate for president Vivek Ramaswamy because he said something about arming the Taiwanese to prevent a Chinese invasion. I'm going to show you the two little clips that she did, and then I'm going to break down a little bit of history for you that Caitlin obviously must not know.
We'll put a gun in every Taiwanese household, train them how to use it. That is how you make Xi Jinping think twice.
Do you really think that would be a sufficient plan to deter a Chinese invasion if it includes long-range missiles, ground troops, an aerial blockade, a naval blockade?
Caitlin,
all of the different measures here?
Caitlin.
I was going to go to the second one, then we'll connect.
Caitlin, of course it's not sufficient. You take that tiny little clip when I've articulated at the Nixon Library last week, a 1-hour speech with a whole range of deterrents. That is part of it. But I've also said that I would pull Russia out of its military alliance with China. I've also said that we would bolster our partnership with India to be able to close the Andaman Sea and the Malacca Strait. I've also said that we would actually send a signal very clearly that we will defend Taiwan, moving from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity to say that we will defend Taiwan until we have semiconductor independence in this country. And so, yes, part of this is turning Taiwan into a porcupine. I think exporting our Second Amendment is a relatively free or low-cost way to do that. But I find it laughable that you will take that clip and then put words into my mouth as though that was a sufficient deterrent. Caitlin, with due respect, that's a joke. I will not allow someone to put words in my mouth to say that I ever said that was sufficient. It is not.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm simply asking about something you said. We played a quote that you've made. Speaking of another comment that you've made.
Get wrecked. One of my favorite things about Vivek, and regardless if you're with him or if you're not with him, whatever, one of my favorite things about this man is he does not take it from the woke left. He doesn't take it from politicians. He's clearly very intelligent. In that one response clip, he not only supported the idea of the Second Amendment, he tore down CNN as a woke propaganda piece, and he came out in a pretty strong position for international politics. And again, then he called out the bias. This was so bad, and we're going to spend a second talking about the Second Amendment because the left, like I said, really likes to do this thing, and Caitlin Collins did it so well. It was so well rehearsed. Naval blockades, superior force, kind of like our founding, like the British when they had the world's largest navy at the time. Yeah, they had an embargo on almost every single country. They were literally the workshop of the world. They had colonies everywhere. They were running around little red coats and their stupid little wigs everywhere. Yeah, that's kind of the point. America. Anyway, now let's get into this because it's about making you a porcupine. That's the entire point. In fact, that's why the Japanese didn't invade in World War II. That's why we are free today. And that's why this little clip, which I'm sure she just happened to forget from her friends over at MSNBC, let's have a memory lane a year ago.
The Ukrainian government is literally handing out guns to citizens, and authorities are encouraging people to make their own Molotov cocktails and prepare for what could be a long, ugly insurgency. Even grandmothers have been preparing to fight.
Even your grandma's doing it, bro. The Ukrainians are arming themselves. The government is giving guns to their people. That's how important the fight is. Anybody? Anybody see the juxtaposition? Oh, and also, you can't make your own firearms in the United States because that's bad, because apparently the ATF and Biden think that's terrible. But you can make your own Molotov cocktails. That's okay. And go on down to your government office and get your AK-47 for the Russian insurgency. These people know no bounds on hypocrisy. But now, this is how far they just went on this. How stupid they sound. When the Young Turks is the voice of reason in the room, CNN, You're doing it wrong. All right. So now let's jump over to Anna Kasparian at the Young Turks and listen to what she said, eviscerating the CNN piece. This is... Ugh.
So I went into his full speech at the Nixon Library, and he's actually telling the truth, hyper-focusing on what, to me, was more of like a throwaway statement or something to kind of like attract potentially campaign donations from the NRA. It's just it's not really a good representation of something more comprehensive that he shared during that speech about his foreign policy. You might disagree with his foreign policy, and honestly, I think that what he actually said during his speech, some parts of it were incredibly naive, and we can get into that. But I want to provide the receipts and show you what he actually said during that speech. Before I do, briefly, Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was set to disagree with him because I think he put that part in the speech, both to appeal to the base and to get the media to talk about it because it's so outrageously stupid.
It's so outrageously stupid. Again, you know what? Just for funsies, let's look what Joy Reid at MSNBC said a year ago about Ukraine.
The Ukrainian government is literally handing out guns to citizens, and authorities are encouraging people to make their own Molotov cocktails and prepare for what could be a long, ugly insurgency. Even grandmothers have been preparing to fight.
Outrageously stupid. You know, even though our entire country was founded on the principle of fighting a superior force, the world's #1 force, the economic superpower, the naval blockades, the organized army, the currency control, all those things. Yeah, no, it's just outrageously stupid. We have a Second Amendment right in this country because it's bred into our heritage. It is part of our DNA in this country. It is to resist tyranny. It is to resist anyone that would come in externally or internally. The entire point is we are an armed populace to defeat tyranny, whether it comes outside or in. That's the entire point. And when leftists do this and they make it all about a big talking point about Vivek Swamy, he's so clearly insane. Given the Taiwanese AR-15s, it'd make it a little harder to invade the country, especially when you pair it with other things. I'm not running for president, so I don't get that. I don't have to take a position on that. I think the Second Amendment and the proliferation of firearms amongst the population not only guarantee a government that's going to be a little less inclined to do tyrannical actions, but it's also going to make a foreign adversary think a little bit harder. For example, make Taiwan a porcupine, as Vivek just said. But we got one more thing we got to get into because Cenk from the Young Turks, this is hilarious. Just check this out.
Right? So, okay, now, but the third layer is this, let's arm the Taiwanese with AR-15s. Now, that's so over the top and ridiculous that it's meant to draw media attention. It's like he's catfishing. He's like, oh yeah, and then I'm gonna give all the folks in Taiwan AR-15s and hand grenades. Come on, media, anybody out there?
Cenk's a special kind of something. But I do think it's funny that giving AR-15s and hand grenades is bad in this context in Taiwan versus China, but in Ukraine at MSNBC, Joy Reid's over here saying they're handing out AK-47s and encouraging and teaching people how to make Molotov cocktails. Maybe it was just a year ago, and maybe some things are crazy and it's weird, but you know, that's the way it be sometimes. The reason that I showed you this is because it shows you the bias. It shows you it reinforces the Second Amendment for not only us, but other countries, and gives you examples of what happens when Russia invaded Ukraine. This is a perfect synopsis of hypocrisy, a little bit of freedom, lots of America, and CNN being dumb. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.